The hosts of bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
So I think I've got my idea for our TV show that we're going to be pitching to the networks. But what kind of cooking shows are you guys going to come up with for this? Because I think we need to go in with a few different options.
Oh, balling on a budget, 100%. Like all the things you can do with ramen to make it, not high class, but at least up a class from what ramen usually is.
So, and that's just the whole premise of the show is just showing people how to make high-end ramen with top ramen.
Yeah, exactly. But again, not high-end, mid-range ramen is where I'm shooting.
Is anybody judging it? Is it a competition, or it's like you're the new Emerald, but for top ramen?
Yeah, but like in my mind, I'm doing it in like the shittiest looking kitchen, and like the cabinets are falling down.
So budget for the show is pretty low. I mean, that's a selling point.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, you started by saying balling on a budget, like that was the title of the show, but it's strictly ramen based.
It doesn't have to be ramen based. Like I could bring in like some Chef Boyardee, but like the off-brand Chef Boyardee,
some Vienna sausage.
Now hold on, wait a second. But what are you going to do with off-brand Chef Boyardee?
Man, there's all kinds of things you can do with it. You can
I'll take one.
Okay. You can reduce it down. You could take the noodles out and make your own sauce and make it better. You can flavor the sauce that's in there. You can add ingredients to give it, because it comes with the little like quote unquote beef pieces, but you could like take some leftover steak and cut it up. And
who do you think you are to think you're going to be able to improve on the Chef Boyardee sauce?
Let's not
hold on.
It's down at the legs here. All right.
It's not Chef Boyardee. It's like the King Supers brand, Great Value brand, Chef Boyardee.
It's sous chef, girl unidentified. I don't know. Anyway, Scott, what's yours?
I mean, perhaps it's just a product of our times, but mine was also kind of like, my first thought was also kind of like a low budget, not for the show production per se, but like for the consumer, for the audience, to where like it focuses on staples, right? So you have, let's say, for example, I don't know, frozen chicken tenders, right? Breaded frozen chicken tenders. And then we see how many different things can we make with that, right? So then you have this staple that you buy at the grocery store, but then you can turn that into buffalo chicken wraps or chicken parm sandwiches, or, and just find all the different ways you can use one of those like staple type of items, and expand the person's, you expand the benefit that they can get from the things that are already in their pantry.
So you thinking just kind of like the one episode will be you go and pick up an item and then you just kind of churn different things out with it?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have like, how Emerald has the BAM? Like what's your catch? Because something's going to have to sell to them.
Mine would probably be fart noises, if we're being honest. Just sprinkling a little on top, Okay.
Mine would probably be cuss words when I inevitably cut myself with a knife. No kidding.
It's the only TVMA fucking cooking show on TV. I'm here for it.
I went to a cooking class with a work function one time, and no shit, the guy was telling us how to not cut yourself with a knife. Guess what I did?
Cut yourself.
Cut myself with my knife. Yeah.
All right. So here's my thought. Like, I'm going to do it a little bit different. The pitch that I'm going to have is, instead of it being like an instructional show, I want to do like a contest, right? Like a game show with food, where I'm the judge, right? And you both know me fairly well. None of the contestants get to know what I like and dislike for food.
That
And
sounds
so-
like hell for the contestants.
So then I
Mhm.
just get like plates of food, and maybe I'll give them like a hint, but then I could just be like, "I'm not eating that. It's got broccoli in it. You're out." And then I cut them. You know what I mean? But just completely arbitrary to my own taste.
Yeah, but like eventually people are going to catch on and just start serving you plates of chicken tenders and smiley face shaped French fries, and to make you happy.
I think that's the goal. I think Matt
Honestly.
is coming up with an elaborate plan to get free food from people that he doesn't have to make or clean up after.
And I get paid to do it. So this look, I think that this is a winning idea
It's not a
for
bad
a
plan.
TV show.
Someone's going to be like, I made this beef Wellington with a side of asparagus and a fresh house salad with a homemade balsamic, and you're going to be like, bleh. And then the next person's going to be like, I microwaved some frozen taquitos, and you'd be like, you win $1 million.
No? What kind of taquitos? That's the important part.
Oh Jesus!
what I
You
mean?
really have a preference
got-
between frozen taquitos?
I mean, I prefer the chicken taquitos if you're going to be picky.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's no difference in flavor. It's all the same quote unquote meat product.
I wasn't planning on making this a competition, but now I hope both of your ideas. No, I hope, Scott, your idea specifically gets shit on. Dan and I will get TV.
Just like you plan on shitting on everyone's hard-working meals that they worked hard on because they simply put asparagus in it, and you have a childlike aversion to it because it's green.
Welcome
Dude,
to bracketology.
It is funny to think about somebody taking the time to like make this beautiful beef Wellington to immediately get like cut from the show, and then the next contestant makes dino nuggies, and Matt's like, yes.
Yeah. Is there barbecue sauce? No.
No.
Fuck you.
Got to give me ketchup for the.
Oh
Dino
my god.
Nuggets. For the Dino Nuggets, you got to give me ketchup.
Dino nuggets and macaroni and cheese.
Well, what kind of macaroni and cheese though? See
Oh my god.
what?
You.
Bob Evans macaroni
Okay.
and cheese.
That works.
Hello and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I am the Grand Poobah, Scott Grubb.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but I am the second co-host, Matt Robison.
And I'm the not so grand poobah, Dan Default.
This week we continue down the path of deciding best Bob. That's about it. It's just the weirdest bracket, but I'm a fan anyway.
I mean, it's a fun bracket. Last week we went through the last 2 weeks we went through the first round of the best Bob, and in the first episode we have been informed by some listeners,
Bracketeers.
some bracketeers, some bracketinis, because I know these listeners. That there were a total of what
378. Yep.
378 Bobs. As the editor, I was trying to count them as I was editing, and I got to 18 and said, "Fuck this, that's too much."
I got to like 126, and I was like, I lost count. I got distracted, and then I was like, I don't know where I'm at anymore, and it was.
We can't even
That was
count
it.
our own show.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, moving into the second round of the best Bobs. Who are we going? Who we going with today?
Yeah, so this week, second round for best Bob characters and other Bobs, which is just a smorgasbord of weird. So Dan, where would you like to start us off this week?
We started off the very first episode of the Best Bob bracket, almost a tongue twister, with characters. And I think, fittingly, we should go back to the character side.
Okay. Who's for which matchup are we?
Let's start at the bottom. Let's go with Silent Bob versus Bob Kelso from Scrubs.
Okay. Well, I I think I disappointed most people in the first episode when I said I didn't really watch Scrubs. So I don't have a whole lot to say there. I still knew who he was. I will say that much. Like I knew who the doctor guy was.
In the show about doctors
Yep.
and one janitor.
Mm,
And there's a handful of nurses in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Don't disparage the CNs, man, or the RNs for that matter. They'll come at you. They got needles and shit.
It's true. So then, obviously, your familiarity is greater with Silent Bob there.
Yeah, I mean, Silent Bob was definitely probably one of the introductions to like adult comedy and adult humor for me growing up. Right, is watching Mallrats and Clerks and all of the Silent Bob things, and it fucking made me laugh. Like, let's be real. Bob Kelso, I know less about.
Okay.
I mean, Bob Kelso to me is, again, we talked about it in the episode where we voted him forward, a necessary evil in that show. But he, through some really great episodes, shows that without him, everything would fall apart. And it becomes, a pretty emotional moment in an otherwise really funny show. There's also a really good show where it shows him, like, he usually makes disparaging remarks about his wife, who you never actually see. But then there's a show where it shows just how much he loves his wife. And I think it shows that his character leans into that, that villainous role, but the necessary villain.
I also always loved the episode where he and Turk get in the fight over the park bench for lunch. He's very territorial about the bench for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm probably going to say this about the next matchup as well, but to me, this one, it's a pretty easy matchup. I feel like. I mean, it definitely leans one way stronger than the other. Bob Kelso, Scrubs is a great TV show. There's no taking that away from it. And Bob Kelso is an integral part of it. Again, the character development and everything that he brings, like you were just talking about, Dan, is significant. And it's the foil for them to all play off of. I think in a lot of ways, he's the common enemy that JD and Dr. Cox can come together on, even though those characters, like, their relationship is written to be unique because it's like JD annoys Dr. Cox, but eventually gains his respect and blah, blah, blah. Like, Kelso's that common evil that they have. But all of that being said, Silent Bob is Silent Bob. Like, there's a reason Kevin Smith still, is in high demand at Comic-Cons and I mean, it's a cultural icon more so than Bob Kelso.
And in a lot of ways, Silent Bob really is, kind of the beginning to what many consider to be the first extended universe in cinema. Okay, that was absolute bullshit. But
yeah,
I was like, what?
It was fairly early on when you compare it to things like the MCU and other things. Like Silent Bob and Jay are the glue factors between all of his fucking movies. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but Silent Bob is like the, he's always there. And it makes sense because, he's very, Kevin Smith as a creator seems to be like very aware of those kinds of things, of Easter eggs and other types of stuff like that. So kind of makes sense for that content to be connected.
Favorite
Bob.
Kevin Smith movie or favorite Kevin Smith fact is that when Dogma released,
he protested.
There were protests, and he joined one of the protests against his own movie and then was interviewed by the media for for a local New Jersey news station, talking about the protest for his own film, and they had no idea it was him.
Yeah,
They had no clue who they were talking
zero
to.
clue. It was in his hometown is the funniest part about the whole thing. So, yeah, I listened to a podcast that has some of his like old friends that have been in some of his movies, as Steve Dave and the Comic Boy, I think is the other guy's name. But anyway, yeah, Silent Bob's got to get my vote. Like it is easy for me, mainly because I don't know Bob Kelso as much, and I don't have the affinity towards Scrubs, and also it's Silent Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a strong affinity for Scrubs, and I do love Bob Kelso's character, but I mean, there's no denying the recognition of what and who Silent Bob is.
Yeah, I was trying to give Bob Kelso some flowers. I too love Scrubs, and I love his character in Scrubs, but he's not going to beat out Silent Bob.
Well, that moves Silent Bob on, and honestly, I'm kind of waiting for Celebrity Deathmatch to make the next round, whoever Silent Bob's opponent is, between SpongeBob and Bob the Builder. So we'll get right into that matchup. SpongeBob versus Bob the Builder. Who's facing Kevin Smith's Silent Bob in a cage match? Special guest referee Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The Battle of the Nickelodeon Bobs.
Is Bob the Builder Nickelodeon?
That's what I was just looking up to confirm.
I feel like he was PBS almost.
No, I don't know. Bob the Builder is a British animated children's television series.
Bob the Builder is British?
Apparently.
Who the fuck saw that coming?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, it was Nick Jr.
Okay.
Oh, well, it was Nick Jr. for the first 6 seasons, and then seasons 7 through 20
Holy crap.
went to PBS.
Okay.
How
so
many
we were both
seasons of this show are there?
Sounds like
20?
Yeah.
How many seasons of SpongeBob are there?
Probably way more.
80, dude. Who the fuck knows? SpongeBob is... I know I said this last time.
I really need you to unpack your hatred for SpongeBob.
SpongeBob is overplayed in every way. I think what it really boils down to, I don't want to get too deep here, all right? But growing up as a teenage Matt, let's call him 13,
Matt.
14.
Oh, okay.
Matt's sister had a baby. That baby lived with us. And so what was on the TV? All the fucking time. SpongeBob. And as a teen boy obsessed with football, I hated it. And that has stuck with me to the point where when in a previous relationship that I was in for a long time and there were children around, SpongeBob would come on and it was just so grating. Like I think it's his voice more than anything. I hate his voice. Bothers me. Patrick's an idiot. The stupid squirrel shouldn't be underwater. It doesn't make any sense. David Hasselhoff. Like
It has an astronaut helmet so he can breathe. And David Hasselhoff's only in the movie.
Yeah, the fact that you knew that
because
means
it's
that
fucking
you have
everywhere.
seen the movie.
No, I haven't seen the movie, but it's fucking everywhere, dude. And SpongeBob needs to learn his place. That's all I'm saying.
Also, just saying, not for nothing, SpongeBob has only had 14 seasons. Bob the Builder has had 20.
Are they
What's
still
the total?
making new episodes of SpongeBob?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
What are the total number of episodes, though? SpongeBob has 303. I think the seasons might be... Yeah, Bob the Builder only has 250. So, more SpongeBob episodes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I think that it just really... I don't know, man. It really irks me. Like, it feels like, and I know that our parents said this with some of the cartoons that we watched, right? Because we grew up on fucking Rocko's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy and the Angry Beavers and all kinds of things that were probably not the most educational content in the world. But I feel like SpongeBob took the level of dumb and ramped it up to 38.
There are still new episodes of SpongeBob being released. Yes.
Dude, I grew up watching like He-Man, and
I didn't
if
know
you
that
go
you
back,
had a TV in 1930.
mean. Um, it was by the radio. We would all sit down in the afternoons and listen to FDR's fireside chats, and then episodes of He-Man.
Grandma Edna would draw them up for us based on the descriptions.
So it was Mama, and
Oh, my bad.
They had to have Cousin Willie hold the coat hanger above his head because the metal plate in his head really made the signal stronger.
Yeah.
it's also how we watched Fox or NFL when TVs were invented. What? How did this become a dig on me?
You leaned into it. I don't know what to tell you.
I didn't mean to, but it just happened.
I guess going back to my point is that Bob the Builder is educational, right? Bob the Builder is teaching children about confidence and about building themselves up and being able to do the things that they don't think that they can do. But
I
he
have a
gives
question.
them the encouragement. SpongeBob feels like it just makes people stupider.
I have a question, and you can either give me. It's an either or, and it's either a number or the other option. How many episodes of Bob the Builder have you watched, or are you talking out of your ass?
No, I've definitely watched more Bob the Builder. Like, I absolutely have. Like, I would actively avoid SpongeBob. Bob the Builder, while it's a show for babies, I have watched Bob the Builder.
While eating Dino Nuggies.
With ketchup.
Look. Don't fucking knock
How do you
it.
feel about honey mustard?
Not a big fan of honey mustard, to be honest.
All right, never
What
mind.
what about
Moving on.
Dijon mustard?
I do like Dijon mustard, yes.
Okay.
SpongeBob's the color of mustard.
SpongeBob's the color
Sorry, I
of
was
pit
trying to get us
is
back
what
on
he
track.
is. He's
So
the
with
color
mustard.
of no. SpongeBob's gross. He is a let's think realistically, right? And I know that
He's not a kitchen sponge. He's an under the sea sponge.
yes, because those exist.
They
They
absolutely
do. Oh my
do.
God! Hold on
No,
a second.
the
Hold on a
animal, the
second.
sponge. But nobody
Yeah,
just takes a fucking. He's a sponge, bro. He's not an animal. He's an actual sponge. Anytime they show like the weird realistic versions of them when they go out of the water and Patrick's just an actual starfish and then he's just a fucking kitchen sponge. That is what he is. And he's stupid. And how gross must he be?
I mean, he might be a little salty, like you. Sounds like you have a lot in common with SpongeBob, if we're being honest.
That might be the real cause for the hate, is that there's so much similarity.
Listen.
That
Voice is grating, kind of salty.
you both have square pants.
Both of you have really stupid friends.
Yeah, like dumber than a rock kind of friends.
Am I the squirrel? I don't know how many things are in SpongeBob.
I think
I am the
No, hold on.
burger.
that. I can't say
Hold
that.
on a second. If Matt is the SpongeBob,
Yeah.
which one of us is honestly the Patrick?
Scott.
I don't know. I don't know this show well
You think
enough.
I'm the Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, if you say so.
Somehow, without your knowledge, you got married and had children.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how that happened.
Dan's Mr. Krabs.
Wait, that's the crab dude that owns the Burger Shack.
Yeah, the one who's hungry for money in a penny pitcher. There's something offensive about that somewhere.
Does he go SpongeBob, my boy?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
And
is
he has a
something
whale for a daughter somehow.
The whole thing's fucking ridiculous, and you have to admit that. It is stupid.
Yeah, but no one's watching it. Like So I mean, so is Rick and Morty. You know, I mean, there's a
also
certain
hate
level of
Rick and Morty.
Fair point. Bad example. My bad. I apologize. Either way, look, I think there's something that you have to recognize as we're going into this conversation, and we've heard your points, whether they made sense or not. SpongeBob's going to win this one. Like, you just have to know that's true.
Just go to a vote.
Well, hold
Go to a
on. We
vote.
don't know that SpongeBob's going to win. Bob
Okay.
the Builder is building a challenge right now
Is he?
to take down SpongeBob. And look, I didn't know that Bob the Builder was on PBS. I didn't know that it was a British show. Those are two, in my opinion, points in Bob the Builder's favor.
Plus, there's just the simple fact that if anybody can build it, Bob the Builder can build it. And if,
I bet Bob Vila could build it better.
no, Bob Vila could build it more in real life, but Bob the Builder can build it in clay and other assorted materials.
Also, I'm looking here, and it looks as though Bob the Builder at some point went through like a redesign. Perhaps you might say facial reconstruction.
He built
I don't-
himself a better face.
I don't know if that was a result of like focus group
PBS taking
testing.
it over?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a result of like focus group testing or like a tragic accident and they had to rebuild his face from like the construction site, mishap or something. But I have to say, I don't like the change. They made him look more humanish. And
I mean,
and
he is a human.
yeah, but like he was cartoony before, and then they made him look more
Oh,
realistic, but not all the way, And I don't like it. What's funny? The original Bob the Builder, now knowing that he's British, kind of reminds me of Bob Mortimer that we eliminated off the bracket, but he looks like the British comedian Bob Mortimer. And now in the new Bob, he looks. I don't know. I don't like it though. I don't like the change.
all right. Well,
How's about we put this up to a vote?
look, Bob the Builder gets my vote. There is not a thing in this world that's going to get me to vote for SpongeBob through this tournament. And
I'm going to vote SpongeBob.
Challenge anybody to offer me something to change my vote.
Look, man, we've known each other for a number of years, and
At least
I have argued and offered numerous different ways to cook you a variety of different vegetables. I have sent you numerous TikToks and Dan and I have had conversations in front of your face about how they remind us of you and kind of mocking you, and you still refuse to download that. You are by far the most stubborn person I've ever met in an incredibly senseless way. So I know we're not going to change your mind about SpongeBob. But the fact of the matter still remains that SpongeBob is a cultural powerhouse. He is a billion-dollar IP. He is a representative of the LGBTQ community. He's a Super Bowl announcer.
Some may say Bob the Builder is also a icon for the LGBTQ community. You don't know.
Okay, but I do know that SpongeBob is because like it's been in the cultural zeitgeist. Like I don't know if Bob the Builder is or not because no one's ever said it. So yeah, SpongeBob gets my vote.
All right.
Daniel, on this point, I want to just throw out that there was a Bob the Builder video game on Game Boy Color.
Oh, okay.
Just throwing that out. That's just a little fact for you, right?
Well,
Reaching kids at all mediums.
That absolutely makes my vote 100% locked in. I think with the information that I have learned in tonight's episode about Bob the Builder, I can say with 100% certainty that my vote's going to SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Wait, there was a singular Bob the Builder game for the Game Boy Color?
We're moving on. So SpongeBob moves to the next round.
17,
And
18,
we'll be
19,
taking
20,
on
21, 22,
SpongeBob
23, 24.
While Matt goes ahead and how do I mute Scott?
What is Scott doing?
He's counting. He's counting higher than 7, and it hurts his head.
He's been in 50. SpongeBob has been in 50 video games. Which is, hold on, let me do the math, 49 more than Bob the Builder.
You know the best part about all this is I could just cut out everything Scott says when I edit this episode. SpongeBob, the little jackass, moves on, and that takes us to our other category.
Seriously, what a monster. Bringing joy and laughter to children all across this nation. What a son of a bitch. Fuck that sponge.
And apparently his bitchy sponge mom.
All right. Next up, we have the other category.
Other?
Other? Oh, yeah, there's a question mark. Bob Evans, the restaurant, versus Bob Uecker, the baseball player / announcer. Now, primarily known for announcing.
Both of these contestants won tough-fought battles last week or 2 weeks ago. The first episode, where Bob Evans took out Bob Dole, and Bob Uecker took out the infamous Bob the Motion. So,
which I'm sad about, because now we don't get to sit here and bob up and down anymore.
I know. Did you make a gift?
No, we can still bob up and down.
That's fair.
So Bob Evans, still haven't been there. I know that I've had zero opportunity to go, but I do look forward to one day going. Oh, speaking of, and I think I talked to y'all about this in that first episode, went to the grocery store today, got me some apple pie egg rolls.
I thought you were going to say you bought something from the Bob Evans repertoire.
No, not even.
I was waiting for a frozen Bob Evans.
Last time we were talking, we ended up talking about Cracker Barrel, and I ended up talking about their fried apples, and that made me think of the apple pie egg rolls, which I then got today. And I'm very excited. I haven't eaten them yet, but I will.
I actually saw those.
That's a point in favor of Bob Evans, somehow.
Just the fact that
some transient property connecting that.
But Bob Uecker is a legend, man. Bob Uecker is a legend. Did we look up his stats when he played?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. He played from 1962 to 1967 for the Braves, the Cardinals, the Phillies, and then the Braves again. He
has a career total of 146 home runs, 74
No, he has 146
RBIs.
hits. He has 14 home runs.
14 home runs.
74 RBIs. 65 runs, though. He was quick.
Ooh, I do have the opportunity to go to a Bob Evans at the end of September.
All right.
There's one not too far off the path of my vacation I'm taking.
So not his actual average, his hitting average, which wasn't his batting average was 200, which wasn't great, but honestly, I'd say that's about average. But his OBP, his on-base percentage, was 293, which is great. He took a few walks. His slugging was 287, which is pretty good. That's runners in scoring position for those of you non-baseball fans.
I had no idea what slugging meant.
Yeah, so when there are runners in scoring position, getting on base.
That's good to know.
74 RBIs that's not bad. He had a pretty decent career in baseball. He went to Bradley Tech High School.
There are two Bob Evans 8 minutes away from each other in, where is this? Melanie, New Jersey? Newark? I don't know. Anyway.
Bob Uecker, if we just take out the major league and his movie appearances, I think just his voice of being the voice of baseball for so long has to definitely count for quite a bit. For so long. I feel like most people, when they watch baseball, would love to hear Bob Uecker announce baseball.
Yeah, he definitely has like an iconic baseball voice.
Mhm.
Realistically, he could have announced for any sport with that silky smooth voice of his.
Very silky,
It
very
just
supple in a lot of ways.
it worked really well with baseball given his background. But on the flip side, Bob Evans, it has an entire catalog of delicious food that you don't have to go to a Bob Evans to enjoy. You can go to your local grocery store right now and buy like frozen Bob Evans mashed potatoes and um, you know macaroni and cheese, sausage, like breakfast sausage, and all of that stuff is really good. And then Scott, yes, while you're on vacation, I don't know why you're mapping it out while we're recording an episode, but I do highly encourage you to go to a Bob Evans to experience that food in
I was
person.
looking at Bob Evans locations to see if I would have an opportunity.
So, do you guys know that?
And to be fair, Matt was talking baseball numbers, and my brain just went, shh, you know?
Well, fuck you very much, but
It's nothing personal with you. It's baseball
it
numbers,
sounds
man.
very personal to me. I'm gonna be honest.
No,
with you.
look, I went shh when you were talking SpongeBob, and you can take that personally. This part was just baseball numbers. I'm sorry.
So, do y'all know the slogan of Bob Evans Farms?
No.
It's "Bring out the Bob."
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That honestly should be the slogan for this entire bracket.
I mean,
Just borrow
Well,
that.
I think it. I've always seen where good grows.
well, this may be new. I don't know what to tell you. This is also BobEvansGrocery.com. So, I was just trying to look up their frozen foods, and it was there, and it looked cool. I mean, their website does look very tasty, except for all the fucking broccoli.
Again, it's green.
A lot of broccoli. I like green beans and Jello.
You like green beans in green Jello.
No, never done
Gross.
green beans in green Jello. Only done carrots and cabbage. For the listeners that don't know me personally, that may sound weird, but it is a good thing.
For the people who do know you personally, it sounds weird.
Yeah, but you've
Yes,
heard me say
it's-
it many times before.
I still
Doesn't
sounds
make
weird.
it less weird.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything.
I mean, the food looks fine. I'm hungry. Where's their dessert?
Remember they have the double crust apple pie. I think we talked
I
about
don't
before.
think we talked about that at all. Double crust.
did.
We did, because I absolutely remember you saying, "Why do they need?
I
double
don't need
crust?"
that extra crust.
Yeah,
Why do you need the extra crust? To be fair, the apples are the most important part of an apple pie.
it's not a pie without the crust, dog. And
Just give me a bowl of apples.
I've never.
Look, hold on now. Look, okay, time out. We beat up Matt a lot, but he's not wrong about that. The apples
Yeah,
are the
that's
most
true.
like the buttery crust is great, and it's
Yeah.
definitely a key component of the pie aspect. But the apples are really the star of the show.
the apples are what bring you.
He's not 100% wrong this time.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, the dough's for show, but the apples for dough.
Oh man, you almost had
What?
something there. That was so close to almost being something.
Fuck all of you. All right. Do y'all have votes for this one?
I think I do.
I don't. I mean,
Dan?
you guys go first.
That was Scott. I don't give a shit about this.
Kind of. It's like, this one's really a toss-up because there's not a whole lot of investment on either side for me.
Yeah. Well,
So you guys go first, and then we'll see what happens.
I'll go first. Look, I love Bob Evans food. I am sadly the only one of us that has ever been into a Bob Evans restaurant, and it is really good food. But when I think of like baseball growing up, like I grew up a huge fan of baseball. I watched all that I could get my hands on.
They call it
and
stickball back then, or
no, but so
He's
Bob
too old
Uecker.
and tired to argue with you.
I am. Bob Uecker is a part of my childhood and a very nostalgic part of my childhood. So I got to go with the euchre.
Okay. All right.
You know, they say don't grocery shop when you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's ever said don't vote when you're hungry. So I'm going to
Sure.
vote Bob Evans because it's food.
Just
Wow.
wait, okay.
It is food.
I mean, again, not wrong. So you had to just make it a tie on purpose, didn't you? Look, I mean, going back to my original kind of thought process here, and as much as again I struggle to say it after everything that we've discussed so far, and the general theme of this episode being that Matt has bad opinions. He's right. Bob Evans is food, and I love food way more than I love baseball. Like, if we're talking baseball stats, I'm more interested in knowing how many hot dogs Babe Ruth ate in a game than how he actually performed.
13, I think.
Sure. I mean, that sounds impressive to me. Slugging, I don't care. Hot dogs consumed, give me that stat. Bob Evans macaroni and cheese looks delicious. I want to eat it. There's nothing about Bob Euchre I want to eat, so I'm going to say Bob Evans. Don't think about that too much.
I just don't believe you. All right.
Apparently, people taste like bacon. I don't know.
So then that takes us into we do not eat people.
Put the person down.
We only eat ass. No.
Whoa.
That takes us into our last matchup of the day. Bob Kane versus Bobsled.
I feel like this is honestly the toughest matchup of all of this whole episode.
I mean, that's fair.
Can I just throw it out there that I absolutely hate the fact that a bobsled's on this? Why?
Well, this might be your opportunity to get rid of it.
I mean, so I do, but there was something that I did not bring up when we originally talked about Bob Kane, because I hated the fact that the Bobcat was on the list too, both the company and the animal, because you guys are weirdos. But the thing is about Bob
We're
Kane,
weirdos?
yeah, well, I mean, I fit right in. I'm just saying.
We're weirdos. You
Yes.
had no respect for the 25.4 horsepower of the CT 2025 from
Oh
the
my
Bobcat.
God.
He did have to look that up again, by the way.
I was immediately feverishly typing. Like, oh, if he's going to talk shit about the Bobcat, I'm going to throw a number at him.
So anyway, here's what I'm going to say. Unfortunately, I did not bring this up because I really wanted the Bobcat to be voted out, but I can't sit on this anymore. And that is the fact that Bob Kane, although he was a co-creator of Batman, he is not the sole creator of Batman, and has, in the years since that creation, it has come out that not only did he steal most of the credit from the other, credited creator of Batman, Bill Finger, he also plagiarized a whole slew of other artists and writers, either by straight plagiarism or just having a better marketing team. It's like the difference between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, right?
Yeah, but history's written by the victors, and Bob Kane won.
I was really afraid, honestly, when you started telling that story, that you were going to tell us that he was one of those secret Nazis, that we just didn't realize was a Nazi until well after they died or something. So a little plagiarism's not as bad, you know what I'm saying?
And I've said 1,000 times, and you can ask anybody that knows me, that I can clearly separate the art from the artist.
That is not it.
So Bob Kane.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, that is 180 degrees the opposite of what you are.
Hey, speaking of which, Matt, we were thinking about having a Harry Potter marathon. Would you like to join us for that?
Yeah.
You want to separate the art from the artist and join us for that?
I
Watch
don't.
all the movies. We can read all the books. You have to buy your own copy and bring them to the slumber party, but you know.
Ooh, I legitimately made myself laugh real hard there, but yeah. I mean, realistically, bobsleds are cool, man. Like, if there was an Olympic sport that I could do, I think I'd want it to be bobsledding. Like, it's just fun. It's dangerous, like to live on the edge. I don't know how many times I can lie about myself in one episode.
Would you weight the front of the sled down to give yourself a competitive
Are you
advantage?
calling me fat?
No, God, no. Would you put weights that aren't a part of your body into the front of the sled to give yourself a competitive advantage?
There are many falsehoods I've said about myself today, but I cannot cheat in competitions. Like, it's just not who I am. So no.
So if it came down to cheating in a competition or eating really well prepared asparagus,
dude, I don't think you understand. I hate asparagus. Not only
You've never had it.
I don't need to, bitch. Now here's the thing. There is a gene.
if you're going to talk about cilantro, I'm hanging up.
No, I love cilantro.
I'm actually one of those people. I'm not a big cilantro fan.
Does it taste like soap to you?
It depends on the application. If it's too strong in whatever it is, then yes, I can deal with it in small amounts. But if it's like overbearing, then I'm not a.
There are multiple genes that may be associated with people's dislike of asparagus, including the OR2M7 gene and the PAV gene. I am genetically predisposed to dislike asparagus. You both can go fuck yourselves.
I see here, yes, you do have the DUMB gene. That's right.
Listen. The PAV gene is associated with bitter tastes. People with one copy of AVI and one copy of PAV can perceive bitter tastes, but not as strongly as people with two copies of PAV. I'm 90% sure I have two copies of PAV.
I don't know.
I am a super taster, and that means that you guys can fuck off with the asparagus stuff.
There's no way you can call yourself a super taster and then put cabbage and carrots inside green Jello and call that a salad.
Yeah, I can. I just did.
Bob Kane or Bobsled, we've gotten so far off track.
I've never called it a salad.
You
fucks call it a salad. I call it green Jello.
I call it
it's
disgusting.
Not green Jello anymore.
All right. We have gotten a little sidetracked here. Bob Kane versus Bobsled. I absolutely hate this.
I got to throw something else out there, though. You're talking about bobsled from the Olympic sport perspective. When I think bobsled, the first thing that I picture in my head is actually the sled that the sled kids would have like in the 60s to 80s, like the wood with the metal rails and like the thing at the front where in theory you're supposed to be able to steer it, but let's be honest, it never really worked. Like that in my head is also a bobsled, and that's a significant part of children's winters for generations, for decades.
Look, I think for me, and I'll start the voting here, I always go back to the famous philosopher who said, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up, it's bobsled time. Bobsled gets my vote.
Interesting. I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised to see you put bobsled over a comic book creator.
I mean, I have to backpedal pretty quickly to get away from that Bob Kane stuff that Dan was talking about.
So the plagiarism, is that significant for you?
I mean,
the
I knew
accusations of plagiarism.
Look, I knew it. He is very much considered kind of a pariah in the early comic book days because of that. But at the same time, he did help create what is one of the most famous comic book heroes, comic book characters in general, of all time. And Batman will always be there. But bobsleds are fun, man. And like, I want to have something that's not a person on this list.
All right, Dan, go ahead. How about you?
Ah, damn it.
Ah, damn it. I can always tell how much Dan dislikes something by how deep his breaths become.
Yeah, the greater the disdain, the deeper the breath. I can't stand this because realistically, Bob Kane getting my vote in the last round was purely to get the stupidity of Bobcat off. And as much as I really want to get Bobsled off, I can no longer sit idly by and vote for a plagiarist. Um,
Is that what it's called? Is plagiarist? If you plagiarize, are you a plagiarist?
Now, hold on. So I see where this is going, so I want to interject here. Because you're talking about getting Bob Kane off, and I have to be involved.
with getting Bob Kane
Well,
off.
he gets
Crazy.
jealous.
Here's the thing. Look,
You can't get somebody else off.
I think Matt, to his point, had a credible thought there in that history is written by the winners, right?
Yeah.
Victors, I believe I
The
said.
victors, whatever.
It is
I
called a
don't care.
plagiarist, by the way.
Look, I wasn't trying to plagiarize you, so I changed the words.
That's not how plagiarism works.
There's also a true, honest saying that all good ideas are stolen, right? I'm sure we've both heard that at some point in our years of corporate work and experience.
Deadpool, other things that were stolen.
Good one example. Okay, moving on. All good ideas are stolen, right? Even if there are aspects of Batman that are plagiarized and stolen from other creations, or even if Bob Kane took the majority of the credit away from the fingering guy, whatever his name was. He's not a Bob, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't need to know it. Even if all of that's true, Batman as the cultural icon that he is today would not exist without Bob Kane being there to steal the idea, to push the brand, to expand on it, to be the face and the voice of Batman, to elevate it to the level that he's at. So regardless of whether or not there were aspects of that, which I have not done the research on to know how confirmed that is necessarily. I mean, for me, it still has to be Bob Kane over Bobsled. I think the Jamaican bobsled team's one thing. We all love Cool Runnings. The Olympic aspect is neat and all that every 4 years, sure. Except for that time that a guy died doing it during the Olympics. And then there's the childhood thing. Like I said, the steering never worked on that. I'd rather have a big flat disc than one of those bobsleds like that. So for me, it's Bob Kane.
All right. Well, a couple of things I'm going to disagree with you on. So let's say, Scott, that you made an IP that was worth billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt came along with his asparagus hating ass and stole
My
that
asparagus
idea
ass
from
took a
you.
shit on you.
Okay.
Yeah, he stole that idea from you,
Nope.
took credit for it, and then he goes on to be labeled throughout history as the creator of something you actually made. He gets all the credit.
There's
What?
one flaw in what you said. Batman wasn't a $1 billion property when that happened. He made it the $1 billion property.
DC Comics made it $1 million property. He was just the person that snuffed out everybody else to get the lion's share of the credit.
Then in my book, somebody at DC Comics fucked up by not paying attention to who actually made Batman.
I don't think that they were keeping that close tabs on.
That's not Bob Kane's fault.
I get it, but look, I'm not going to vote for a person again because he stole an idea. Because we're not voting on Batman, we're voting on Bob Kane.
Yeah, and his contributions to society cannot be ignored.
It was thievery. That was his contribution. Whereas the bobsled has not only been an enjoyable, however deadly, Olympic sport, but it's also a great kids slide. And
Dude.
the official bobsled, by the way, just to let you know, what you're thinking about is not a bobsled. A technical bobsled is something that has a seat. It's a flat board with an uplifted front and two handles that you can use to steer or brake. It's not the little wooden thing.
I mean, that's fine. So, okay, here's the thing that you have to. I think you should also take into consideration here when you're talking about Bob Kane being the person that came in and took the credit and all that, and so he took someone else's idea and tried to make it his own and all that. We're three white dudes that are hosting a podcast that we want to get monetized. Do you think we're not taking someone else's goals and trying to do it ourselves as well?
I mean, I get it, but if
You
we
wouldn't
ever
be
end
happy
up,
if this turned into $1 billion property right here,
I mean, I absolutely would.
and somebody else came around and said, "Well, that's derivative of every other podcast hosted by three white dudes."
Look, all I'm saying is, if we ended up on a bracket somewhere and people were voting for us, I hope we don't get the vote, because my vote is not going to Bob Kane. It is going to Bobsled. Bob Kane is a plagiarist, and I cannot vote him through. He served his purpose for me by defeating Bobcat. Now I'm done with Bob Kane.
Clearly, I have the lowest integrity of everyone on this podcast.
So I feel like now is the time for me to come in and just add one more thing in. Bobsled moves on.
Yeah.
I was trying to see how I could build tension to like try to swap my vote, and then I immediately gave up. That takes us through the second round, Scott.
Yeah, gentlemen, we've done it.
We have some characters and we have some other in the second
Other.
round. Next week, what do we have in store?
Well, we're going to be going
Next week?
Yeah, next week, the week after this one, we are going to be going through the actors and personalities. So we're going to see at least 4 different personalities on that call.
And that'll round out our what we have. Do we have an alliterative thing for 8?
Yeah, the
You said yeah, very
Electric
confident.
8.
the elastic 8.
Why elastic?
I mean, humans are kind of elasticy.
SpongeBob's pretty elastic.
I will fuck you up.
So join us next week as we continue to whittle down our best Bobs with the Bob actors and Bob personalities. As always, we want to thank you for sticking around
Entitled
through this episode.
8. It's the entitled 8. Those fucking sponges. Continue.
Wow.
He is a burger flipper for minimum wage, and you think he's entitled. All right. I want to thank everyone for joining us again this week as we berated Matt for an hour. Thank you for listening. Please take the opportunity to share this episode, like, review, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. As we mentioned previously, it helps out a ton. You can find us on all the social medias at Bracketology, BRACKETALLOGY. What else?
We want to thank Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music on YouTube for the music. So thanks, Aaron.
Woo! What else? We got anything else?
I don't know, man. I'm hungry.
Who are you?
That's it. I think that's it. All right. That was an episode of a podcast. Thanks for hanging around for it. As always, I'm Scott.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dan.
Bye-bye.